Well, good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Amondi Otieno and this is KUTV Primetime News. It is a Monday, 20th day of June, the year 2022. It is a day that the world celebrates, the World Refugees Day. It is a special day to honor refugees around the globe. Now, lots been happening in the country and of course beyond our borders. And as is our custom, let's take a look at the stories making headlines. Over 400 Keroche brewery staff risk being laid off, says Tabitha Karanja. The Ministry of Health reinstates mandatory mask wearing to tame the spread of COVID-19. Petition challenging the validity of Aisha Jomo's degree filed in Mombasa court. 22.1 million voters to participate in the August polls, as noted by the IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Amondi Otieno.
Right, and welcome to the broadcast. I'm not alone. I'm in the company of Sharon Wamboi, who is our sign language interpreter tonight. Now, we're streaming live this broadcast on our social media platforms on Facebook, KUTV Kenya, and Twitter, KUTV_Kenya. It's also live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya Live. Now, the government, through the Ministry of Health, has reinstated the mandatory wearing of masks following the increase of COVID-19 cases in the country. The Cabinet Secretary for Health, Dr. Mutahi Kagwe, further called on Kenyans who have not been vaccinated to get the vaccine immediately.
Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe announced on Monday, June 20th, noting that all Kenyans will be required to wear masks in confined spaces such as matatus, churches, offices, supermarkets, among other areas. The requirement will, however, not apply when Kenyans are spending time in open public spaces such as when walking or even jogging.
We expect to have a lot of more colds and flus with similar presentations like COVID-19. Therefore, there is need for all those with respiratory like illnesses to seek appropriate medical care and be tested for COVID-19.
The CS further called on Kenyans who have not been vaccinated to do so immediately. He further stated that all unvaccinated travelers arriving at any port of entry into Kenya will be required to be in possession of a negative PCR test result conducted not more than 72 hours before departure.
So the solution, ladies and gentlemen, is number one, we need to revise our vaccination rates. Kenyans are advised to get vaccinated.
The move comes as Kenya battles the sixth wave of COVID-19. In a report released on Thursday, Kenya and Mauritius are the only two nations classified in the said category among the 54 African Union member states following the recent surge in cases. On Monday, the country's COVID-19 positivity rate was 12.6% after 252 people tested positive from a sample size of 1,993 people tested in the last 24 hours. Joy Pauline, KUTV.
Thank you, Joy Pauline, for that report. Now, still on matters health, the Ministry of Health, the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, and Roche have announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding making Herceptin subcutaneous injection AC free of charge to all NHIF members. This is the first national access program for cancer medicines in Kenya, ensuring cancer is properly managed.
Universal healthcare falls among the big four agenda of President Kenyatta's government, and the Ministry of Health has put efforts to ensure cancer is manageable. Today, the Permanent Secretary for Health led the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the key stakeholders that include the Ministry of Health, the National Insurance Fund NHIF, and the Roche to make a Septin injection free of charge to NHIF members. Speaking at the signing of today's MOU, Susan Mochache, the Health Permanent Secretary, noted that cancer has been one of the key public health challenges, with 6,000 cases of breast cancer being reported each year.
Roche has graciously accepted to ensure that we get proper, I would not even call it value for money, but that we get affordable, medicines.
Dr. Peter Kamunyo, the Chief Executive Officer at NHIF, and Frank Leffler, the General Manager Roche East Africa, also said that access to treatment is a key component of universal healthcare coverage, and the signing of the MOU was a very important step for women with breast cancer and the general public.
This is part of what we're doing in terms of ensuring that every Kenyan has access under the comprehensive cover. As you're aware, from 1st of July, we'll launch our new contract to the hospitals, and we'll have what we call a comprehensive contract and the non-comprehensive contracts. Right. The comprehensive contracts, patients or members will be able to walk in and walk out of the hospitals without paying a single shilling.
The Ministry of Health has an existing program of early diagnosis and screening of breast cancer in efforts to reduce its burden, part of the agreement being Roche to offer training to healthcare employees. Morgan Okero, KUTV.
And now Kericho Breweries has laid off over 400 workers after its Naivasha plant was closed down by the Kenya Revenue Authority. The company was shut down on May 15 after defaulting on earlier agreed plan to repay tax arrears of 30 million Kenyan shillings. Kericho CEO Tabitha on her Twitter page expressed how the closure of the closure affected her, referring to her company's closure as a national security issue that the Ministry of Interior should be concerned about. She wants the Labour Ministry to be concerned and interrogate the matter in order to safeguard the welfare of the employees. She noted that Kericho Breweries earned monthly revenues of between 400 to 500 million Kenyan shillings during before the COVID-19 period. And after the prolonged closure, the revenues dropped to below 50 million Kenyan shillings. And now President Uhuru Kenyatta today hosted the third East African Community Heads of State conclave on the peace and security situation in Congo at State House, Nairobi. The meeting was aimed at accelerating the ongoing efforts to attain sustainable peace and security in DR Congo.
The East African Community Heads of State have met today in Nairobi for the third meeting on the peace and security situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is an acceleration of the ongoing regional efforts to attain sustainable peace and security in Eastern Congo. The meeting comes days after strained bilateral ties between member states, after Congo accused Rwanda for supporting the M23 rebels through training and arming. Earlier, the chairperson to the East African Community, President Uhuru Kenyatta, promised to deploy the Kenyan forces to Congo in an effort to restore peace. Kenyatta also called for the formation of a regional force that followed the meeting of the EAC Chiefs of Defense Forces. The meeting was attended by Uganda President Yoweri Museveni, Rwanda's Paul Kagame, Burundi's Evariste Ndayishimiye, South Sudan's Salva Kiir, and Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu was represented by the country's ambassador to Kenya, John Stephen. Brian Wekesa, KUTV.
Right. Local politics. Two voters from Kilifi County have filed a petition challenging the validity of UDA gubernatorial aspirant Aisha Jumwa's academic qualifications. Rajab Menza Shikara and Daniel Chengo Kahindi are challenging IBC's decision to clear Jumwa's to contest in the August poll, saying that she doesn't have a degree.
Rajab Menza Shikara and Daniel Chengo Kahindi, who are residents and registered voters of Bamba, Kilifi County, are pursuing a judicial review challenging the decision by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) to clear Aisha Jumwa as a gubernatorial candidate ahead of the forthcoming elections, despite allegedly lacking a university degree.
Kusudi yani kuja kotini hapa ni kutafuta haki ili tuambiwe ukweli, ili koti libainishe ukweli kuhusu elimu ya huyu mama Aisha Juma ambaye anawania kiti cha ugavana katika county government ya Kilifi. Na tumeona afadhali nije ni file judicial review ili tujue ukweli, kwa sababu kule kwa IBC tribunal tulikuwa tunajua kuwa pengine haki haitatendeka.
In a sworn affidavit, the duo argued that, according to documents in their possession, Juma was a Form 2 dropout, leaving them with more questions than answers as to how she allegedly obtained a university degree. They rebutted claims they have a personal vendetta against her, pointing out that their concern is whether her documents were genuine and authentic or not. The two said they took time to ascertain their claims, hence their relatively late petition.
Tunataka tu koti tuambie ama investigation ifanywe, ukweli ubainike. Hiyo ndo mambo ambayo tufikisha hapa kotini.
Recently, the query on academic qualifications has attracted the attention of the Director of Public Prosecutions that directed police to widen the probe on fake degrees, while at the same time making for cannon fodder in the political arena.
When Parliament resumes its sittings, to amend the penal code to provide for life sentence in cases where one is convicted over the offense of faking or buying or in any way fraudulently acquiring degree certificates.
Several gubernatorial candidates, including Cleophas Malala, have been locked out of contesting in the August 9 polls due to lacking a valid university degree. The court is expected to issue directions on Aisha Jumwa's case on Tuesday. Gloria Njoroge, KUTV.
Right. It's the degree saga. It's very important to them that are still pursuing education in the higher academic institutions. Ensure that you complete your academics and get the degree certificate, and also take pictures, of course, with friends. They will stand with you when things go haywire. Away from that, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission (IEBC) has confirmed that 22,120,458 voters have been registered to vote in the August general elections. The Commission's chairman, Wafula Chebukati, made the announcement following the completion of the voters' register audit by KPMG. The report shows that IEBC enlisted 2.5 million new voters in the past 5 years, and Mr. Wafula Chebukati noted that the number of registered voters rose from 19,611,423 in 2017 to 22,120,458 in 2022. Speaking during a press conference, Chebukati stated that 46,232 polling stations will be used during the elections. This was projected as 13.08 growth rate. The Kenya Kwanza leaders held meetings with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers in Nairobi today, and together with his running mate Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President Dr. William Ruto highlighted some of the main manifestos in the manufacturing industry, which is to create an enabling environment for manufacturing sector.
Led by the Deputy President William Ruto, the Kenya Kwanza leaders spoke out some of their manifestos in the manufacturing sector. He said that they will create an enabling environment for the manufacturing sector to realize its full potential. Ruto further added that they will build the sector's capacity for innovation, guarantee access to affordable credit, and invest in the sector's growth.
We only have the chance to reduce your taxes if we have more people paying. You don't have a chance of us, say, reducing VAT from 16% to 14%, for example. We will only have that chance if we have a bigger pool of people contributing.
Speaking at the conference, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua said that they need to have business parks whereby investors can come in, plug and play. They say that they are committed in cutting the bureaucracy and working with counties to invest in the factories.
The challenge that I'm seeing here is bureaucracy in our country, basically in everything. And when you talk about taxation, when you talk about regulations, when you talk about starting a company, investment, everything, there's a huge lot of bureaucracy. And as Kenya Kwanza, we are committed in cutting the fat and cutting the bureaucracy.
The outfit later held meeting in Kenana area of the Njoro, Nakuru County, where he was held up in a closed-door meeting with elders and community leaders. Ruto told the residents of the larger Molo, which has been the epicenter of electoral violence since 1992, that his alliance was committed to peace. The race with time to woo various key players in the determination of the country's fate in terms of the next government remains on as politicians engage strategic patterns to utilize the 49-day gap to the August polls. Rose Wanjiro, KUTV.
Politics. On the Azimio side, the Azimio One Kenya coalition flag bearer Raila Odinga, alongside his running mate Martha Karua, today schemed and executed their vote and mission in Kajiado County, where, as Emmanuel Kutosi pans it out, the duo warned that the country's voters not to be deceived by their rivals' dodgy promises while tabling promises of their own, empowering the area's key sectors should they stand out as the winners in the coming August polls.
Kajiado County made the stage for the Azimio campaigns led by the outfit's flag bearer Raila Odinga alongside his running mate Martha Karua, started with an entourage of other political leaders allied to their coalition. Quickfire salvos were aimed at their rivals in the Kenya Kwanza camp, with Odinga terming the camp as one out to fleece Kenyans with a barrage of empty promises.
Walisema ati pale popote mbaya kuna sign ati hakuna kazi, itabadilishwa kandikwa ati kuna kazi. Mwaka watazalisha kazi 1,000,000 kila mwaka, wataajiri vijana. Uliona hizo kazi? Uliona hizo kazi? Sasa wanapeana ahadi tena ati wakina mama watatoa bilioni 100.
Sentiments echoed by his sidekick in Martha Karua, who noted that the Azimio coalition had a tight lock on the needs of the county's residents.
Ikiwa wapinzani wetu wamekuja kuahidi mabilioni hapa na pale bila kusimama na kuapa kupambana na ufisadi, ujue hiyo ni ahadi ya mdomo peke yake. Mimi nimesimama nyuma ya baba sababu na muamini anataka kuinua hali ya maisha ya kila Mkenya.
Raila promised to boost the agricultural sector, saying his regime, should the voters' masses shine his way come August, would see an industrial and infrastructural revolution.
Tumesema tutasaidia wakulima kwa upande ya vifaa ya kulimo, kwa upande ya mbegu, kwa upande ya mbolea na kwa upande ya soko. Tutazidisha pesa ambayo inatoka Nairobi kuja mashinani. Tutapanda kutoka 15 kwa 100 hadi 35 kwa 100 pesa inakuja mashinani. Bei ya sukari itarudi chini. Hata kodi ya nyumba itarudi chini.
Tumezunguka Kenya hii na tunaielewa. Mumesikia ahadi za ndugu yetu Raila Odinga. Kwa niaba yetu wana Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, zote tunakubaliana na yeye kwa matamshi ambayo amewaahidi hapa watu wa Ongata Rongai.
The region's leaders pledged support for the Azimio duo, calling on the residents to see the regime claim power in a swift, spirited single round in the tight general race with an undisputed margin on the 9th of August. Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Kutosi, for that report highlighting our Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Of course, with his promises saying that the cost of living will get better. 21 minutes past the top of the hour. It's time we take our first break here on KUTV Primetime in a moment. Shall we come back with the discussion of the night? Politics. Is it the ticks? The tricks? Politics, politics. See you on the other side.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Tunaambiwa kwamba mwanadamu anafariki. Je, kufa kwake kuna kuaje? Anakufa vipi? Ni nani anayemuua? Anayetoa roho. Na kitolewa roho kwa sababu kiwiliwili kiko pale. Hiyo roho huwa inaenda wapi? Au kunafanyika nini hasa? Kwa ni swali la msingi sana, na tutajaribu kiasi Mwenyezi Mungu atakavyotuwezesha tuweze kumjibu swali kama hili inshallah biidhnillah.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Now, today on this show we are talking about matters youth and which way youth in the elections.
I think it is one of the ways that is very helpful in combating this has been the introduction of the women's rep position, and now the beauty of the frustrated youth, frustrated young women is that they now have an outlet, somewhere where they can take their vote and say, I want this person to represent what I am facing, because as a person who has got to that stage, they have passed through it.
But just including people in conversations that I think sometimes people find difficult to talk about, or that we shame people for having, or we exclude them because they are different, we're able to dial back so many issues that we find up ahead because we didn't talk to those people in the first place.
Spreading words and chaos, right? Yeah, so I agree with you. Yeah, people should participate in that. Yeah, I would like to do that as well.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have box exercise, we'll have kata box. Just the show comes every Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. Keep it locked. Make sure we keep fit. And that's it from me to you. Let's be fit.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on KUTV Primetime News. And if you're just joining us, we're streaming live this broadcast on our social media platforms on Facebook, KUTV Kenya, on Twitter, KUTV_Kenya. It's also live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya Live. Now the time for our discussion, the tics and tricks in politics. Now the race to occupy the elective seats continues to get stiff with a few days left to the August general elections, and the blames of frustrations from the government machinery are making headlines in the campaign trails as scrutiny in the credibility of the academic papers continue. The electoral body IBC has noted that 22,120,458 voters have been registered to vote on the August 9th polls, which presidential candidate shall enjoy the ride in the wave of the big numbers to house on top of the hill to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's the discussion you're having tonight. And joining me is a seasoned political analyst, Solomon Musyoki, and probably Kotonde, who shall be joining us later on. Thank you so much, Solomon Musyoki, for dedicating your time for this discussion.
Yes.
All right, and now we kick it off. So the electoral body IEBC has noted that in the August general elections, we shall be having 22,120,458 voters have been registered for that elections, and this has been noted, of course, after the audit by KPMG that 2.5 million voters. It is an increase by 2.5 million voters from the 2017 general elections. So in terms of turnout, what do you see of Kenyans? Are we really expecting to have a larger turnout on these general elections, as probably you seeing the state and the situation of things?
I believe the voter turnout is going to be higher. This is the highest registration of voters we've seen. 22 million is quite a large number. I believe the voters are going to be around 1 million, 2 million above the normal voter turnout. I believe it's going to be high because of the kind of tight race we're seeing between the Azimio camp and the Kenya Kwanza camp. And we're also seeing a third force now, the Wajakoya, the fifth also coming. So I believe it's a tight race, and each of the supporters are really fighting for their people. So I believe they'll come out in large numbers to support their favorite candidates. So I see an increase in around 1 million to 2 million voters in the coming elections.
Right, and it's noteworthy really because you are saying that we think it's really a stiff competition, and it's not the two horse race as it has always been, because you've noted that there is also the Wajakoya factor that cannot be left out. But now the level of enthusiasm that comes with these elections, where enthusiasm where, because during the registration process, we saw the kind of voter apathy where youths were not going to be registered as voters. They are saying that they had lost hope, in the elections of this country. So moving forward, noting that from the big numbers that have been reported by IEBC, and the tough times that you are seeing here, of course, politicians are promising better life after the general elections. We've seen today Raila Amolo Odinga promising that the cost of living shall be going lower after he clinches the house on the top of the hill. So do you think really that this will move the voters to go and represent their ideas, rather represent their decisions of whoever becomes the president in the August general elections?
I believe despite everything, Kenyans are really democratic people, and they really want to cast that vote. Especially this time around, we are seeing a large number of a good number of millions of first timers. So first time is someone who has not been there. He wants to feel that that feeling of casting that ballot.
Right.
So I believe despite the economic times, despite the people trying not to engage into political, into the political stage, but I believe people are going to vote, people are going to come out, and also the people who had the voter apathy, the youth, have actually been captured by Wajakoya.
Right.
So you realize that many of the youth who are not interested into politics are now supporting Wajakoya because they feel they are now tired of these seasoned politicians.
Right.
They now want to see new faces. So I believe Wajakoya will take care of those few individuals, hundreds of thousands, who feel like we don't need politics in Kenya. So I believe the voter turnout will still increase, and people will come out in their large numbers.
And it's really impressive, Musoki, that you're talking about the Wajakoya factor, because looking at the patterns of how people have been voting, I was just having an experience, just a discourse, of course, with some gentleman who voted for the first time in 2013. He told me that he was the decision he made on the presidential vote. He was voting the youthful leaders, and of course now you're telling us that Wajakoya has captured the interest of most of these first-time voters, and of course the youths. And the following from the results that we had from the population, from the census, that the youths make up 70% of Kenya's population. And of course, if they make 70% of the Kenya's population, and assuming that a big chunk of the youth registered as voters, do we see a situation where Kenyans, rather Professor Wajakoya, could leverage the youth, of course, after capturing their interest and probably winning this election?
I believe Wajakoya has chances, but we see that he came into the political scene late. That is one of the disadvantages he's facing. He came late, and I believe I don't think he has the required resources to actually fight, the big fish like Honorable Raila and Honorable Ruto. So I believe he has good chances, but he's going to make a statement. That is one thing I'm sure he's going to make a statement. But I'll also allude this to a discussion we had, last time, that we were saying that if Kalonzo would brand himself, he would actually be now the third factor. But this time around, we are seeing he went back to Azimio, so we are seeing Wajakoya actually playing that role that Kalonzo did. So the best Wajakoya can do, he can garner votes, in the hundreds of thousands, or actually surprise us with 1 million votes, so that we are going to have to go to a second round. So that is actually, I think that is the best case scenario for Wajakoya. That is if the youth will really come out and support Wajakoya. It's not just a mantra. Yeah.
Anyway, maybe just to really get back to what you say, that Wajakoya came in a bit late. There's a saying, it sounds much better in Swahili, but I'll just paraphrase it in English, saying that, going to the bar earlier is not, that's not getting tipsy, like kufika mapema, sio kulewa. And looking at how the campaign trails and how Wajakoya has been, selling his manifesto to the electorates in the country, gauging from the kind of discourse and the conversations that the youths are having, because he's one man that is talking about a plan of how the Kenyan debts will be paid, and of course this is something practical because among the problems that the Kenyans are facing right now is the debt burden. Don't you think if he sells his manifesto and his agenda well to the electorates and to Kenyans at large, he might actually get a chance to turn tables and everyone just gets surprised that as votes the tally continues, we're seeing someone like Wajakoya at the top of the table?
I don't think it's possible for him to clutch the top seat, because one, we know Kenya is a cultural, it's a cultural country. We have a lot of cultures that we hold so dear, and one of the cultures is the culture against marijuana, against drug abuse. So in as much as the youth are trying to vouch for him, but the greater community is actually fighting. We've seen the bishops coming and telling people, this is not the right way. So we're actually a country that is based on Christianity and Islam, both of which are really against the legalization of marijuana. So in as much as he's going to get support, I believe it is not going to be enough to actually clench, because this time round I believe we're going to see the winner going with around 7-8 million votes. So with him coming for a few months, probably I don't think he's going to clench actually 8 million votes or 7 million votes.
Maybe just to intercept you on that, because when you're talking of the kind of pattern of how Kenyans vote, and of course saying that Kenyans is a religious country, of course the religious leaders have a big impact on how Kenyans make their decision. And Wajakoya actually responded to the Catholic clerics, saying that before they criticize his manifesto, they should read it, they should comprehend it and understand it before actually criticizing this. And then there is also the theme of change. Change is inevitable in every dimension of life. There is a pattern, there is a way how Kenyans used to vote in the past years, and factoring in the theme of change. Don't you think probably Kenyans will probably change with the changes and make a decision out of the religious way, out of the ethnic way of voting, and vote based on ideology, based on something that could revamp the economy? Because I don't want to say that is the only way, because other, of course, presidential candidates are having a discourse on how they want to make lives for Kenyans better. But for Professor Wajakoya, he gives a simple way and a simple standard of how the debts can be paid, and Kenyans having a lot of money, of course, through farming here and there. What do you see really of these Kenyans probably changing the changes on this?
I think one thing you must acknowledge is that when you ask about Wajakoya is mostly known in these urban towns. That's why Wajakoya. If you go to the village and ask the villagers about Wajakoya, no one knows about Wajakoya. And we know that votes are everywhere. When you go to Marsabit, when you go to any Tharaka-Nithi, down there, the different places, you'll see that the people who actually know Wajakoya are the people who have had access to social media. But actually there's so many votes. Actually most people who vote are those mamambogas and those boda people who don't have social media, you see. Right. So those people, I don't think he's going to convince them with the little time span. But probably given a longer time span, if he had started probably 3 years prior to this, I believe he will have a greater chance to clinch the top seat. Yeah.
All right. Now away from Professor Wajakoya, now let us delve into the politics of the recent times. Just yesterday, where we had the Jacaranda rally, and we saw what ensued there. We saw the Kenya Kwanza, of course, were holding a rally there, and the chaos that erupted right there. They were blaming that these chaos might have been caused by supporters of the Azimio coming in to interfere with the campaigns that were organized there at the Jacaranda rally. And of course, you have seen the pictures. It's in the public domain. The pictures of people who are hurling stones, throwing stones at the deputy president. The kind of branding they were having is the same. It's more or less the same as the people who are providing security to the deputy president. And so what really do you make of this, Musioki? Because others have claimed that this was just to seek public sympathy. It is something that is because Babu Owino, who was being accused of this, he said that this was a game that was orchestrated rather by the Kenya Kwanza to seek public sympathy. What do you make of this?
One, I don't believe that is the ways of Honorable Ruto. His politics, those are not his politics. They're actually more of Honorable Babu Owino's politics. You know, Babu Owino is a politician who thrives really in chaos and violence. And I believe that and it starts from the morning whereby we saw lots of police being taken there. We saw armed police. You know, the question is that chaos started at that point. So we cannot say that Honorable Ruto or His Excellency Ruto orchestrated the going of police officers there. You know, so that means that already this is not was his plan. And when you look at the orchestration of the whole ordeal, you'll see that it is actually not Ruto's work. I believe, you know, there's a possibility, but the chances, my bet is on this was works, you know, that were done mostly by Honorable Babu, you know. I cannot say it is Honorable Raila per se, but for Honorable Babu, you know, I'm actually sure that he was involved because, you know, it is his area and, you know, it is his way of politics, of which we understand, but we're actually saying it is not the right way of politics. And yeah, things need to be done.
Now, of course, investigations are underway, and probably let's hope that the authorities will come out clear on who orchestrated this, because in these campaign periods, what Kenyans need mostly above anything is peace and harmony. Now, there is another issue, of course, even as we are headed to the general elections, is the integrity of the leaders and the authenticity of, you know, the academic papers. And of course, we saw the dispute resolution tribunal that was focusing on the case of the Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, and of course there was also Wavinya Ndeti, who were cleared to run after upholding the validity of their papers. And so following the whole process, because we saw how everything everything was happening right from the beginning, the Sakaja was cleared to run for the gubernatorial seat, and then his academic credentials were then revoked, and then later on again is given a green light to run for this top seat. So really, what do you make of you know, the authorities and of course the electoral body that is supposed to validate, you know, the authenticity of the academic credential of the people, rather the contestants of these top seats?
I believe what is being done is right. It is actually time that Kenya and Kenyan leaders, you know, stand their talk and they walk their talk. And we are saying that it's time, you know, the other day I told you that most of these politicians have skeletons in their closet. So this actually shows you, you know, the kind of things that most of them have issues. Most of them, you know, right now we are seeing so many leaders being questioned of their academic qualifications. And you imagine someone who has been in power for more than 10 years, for 15 years, having no degree qualification. It is actually a shame to us as Kenyans. Right. So I believe this is the right way to go, to question in at each and everyone's academic qualification, but the question comes selectively. There's where we go wrong, you know, because you know the history of Sakaja is someone who has been mentored by His Excellency, you know, Uhuru and TNA. Right. So if there were these issues before, I'm sure these people knew. If there were issues before, that is a big if. So if they knew it and they kept silent and the guy was nominated and he was a senator and they now want to raise it because he's now in another camp, that is now where we go wrong. So we're saying it is right for us to question our politicians. I actually believe that is the way to go as Kenyans, because without that we're not going to get out of this economic crisis. We're not going to get out of this situation we are in as Kenya. So it is the right way to go, but let's not criminalize the whole process. Let's not be selective. Let's be objective.
Right. Now, maybe leaving out the politics aspect out of it, because we're seeing this electoral body, it actually, you know, Senator Sakaja is not someone who is new into politics. He vied for the senatorial seat. He was cleared with those academic papers, and then just on his ambition to become the next governor for the county 047, he was given a green light. He was cleared early, and then his academic papers now later on being revoked, and then it's still the academic papers that he was presenting, because we believe that he did not get any other, you know, credentials, because he was cleared, given the green light, revoked, and then again given the green light. So should we really also question the electoral body and all the authorities that are involved in validating these academic papers as well?
I believe for the first time IEBC is doing a good job, because when you look at the whole case, you'll see that IEBC it dismissed on the grounds that it doesn't have, you know, the legal capacity to actually certify if this person to actually revoke it, and they said, you know, the complainant came late, so which is very right, you know, legally, and I think IEBC was right, but you know, the question of where the real question lies, it is that at the Commission of the University Education, because they've actually given a green light to this person to vie in 2017, they gave a green light in 2022, and just right now they're saying that, you know, things are not right. So I actually feel that, you know, that body really has questions and really need to be looked into by, you know, by the relevant bodies. But when you look at the IBC, I believe the tribunal committee has actually done its work, and I believe it has done a good job, because it is okay to question, but when you look at, you know, the whole case and how they dismissed it, it was actually very correct legally.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, when you ask this rather to the layman, the hoi polloi will tell you that you know, there's no way you'll tell most Kenyans, probably those who are the grassroots level, those who are in the up country, that the whole issue is not and only IBC. It also engages the CUE, of course, in validating these academic you know, qualifications. So this again raises questions on the credibility of the election results, because you know, this is where the biggest stake is. The IBC is expected to deliver a credible election, and of course, following on what has been happening with the leaders that were cleared, revoked, and you know, one or two things happening. Do you think Kenyans still have hope and faith that the elections will be credible, so that, you know, this will give them hope to turn out in large numbers, to go line up, of course, to make the decision on the ballot?
I believe so far so good. And I personally, this is the first, you know, this is the first time I'm actually having confidence in the electoral body. I believe IBC is doing its best to actually have a free and fair process. We know that election is a process. It's not just on August 9th. It's a process. And when you look at the process keenly, you see that all the procedures, all the protocol are observed. And I believe they're going to try their best to actually bring out a very clean, a very free and fair election. So I actually urge Kenyans to come out in large numbers. I believe our vote is going to count.
Right. And probably as we wind up this discussion, you've told us earlier of how you're seeing the presidential race, how tight it is actually, because we are seeing, of course, we have the Kenya Kwanza team, we have the Azimio team, and of course we have the Wajakoya factor in here. So as an analyst, looking at this whole political scenery, how do you see the end game being here?
The end game, I think it's a really tight race between Honorable Ruto and Honorable Raila. It will actually, on who wins, it will actually depend on what they're going to do in the remaining months. We know there are very few months remaining. So it will actually depend on the secret cards they are holding back up their sleeves. So it is actually that is going to determine. We've seen the recent poll saying that Honorable Ruto is at a better position than Raila. In the past few weeks, we've seen Honorable Raila has been higher than Ruto. So it is actually, you know, a 50-50 chance of either of the two clinching the top seat, but it actually depend on the kind of you know, politics and politics they're going to play in the next 2 or 3 months. Other than that, the Wajakoya factor, I believe that it will depend on how much is going to campaign, how much is going to invest in terms of resources. If Wajakoya gets good resources and campaigns and traverses this country, I believe is going to get a good hundreds of thousands of votes from the youth. So I think that is what I expect from the August 9th elections.
All right. Now, because of the interest of time, of course, a very interesting discussion, of course, you're having here. But for the interest of time, I'd want us to wind this up. What message are you having for Kenyans, the youths at large, as we're headed to the general elections?
My message to the youth is that it is time we come of age. It is time that we go away from politics of violence, politics of thuggery, that is backward. And we as Kenyans, we as the youth, as the leaders, and as the majority of this country, we need to take the front seat and actually fight the use of violence in the coming elections. Thank you so much.
All right, that's it. Politics, the ticks and tricks as we are headed to the general election. Thank you so much, Solomon Musyoki, for your time in this discussion. And without we taking a very short break, shall be coming back with more. Stay with us.
KUTV, in conjunction with Kenyatta University Funeral Home, is now offering death announcements immediately following on news bulletins at 7 p.m. At this sorrowful time, as you share in your grief, allow us to communicate your announcement of your loved one on KUTV in both Kiswahili and English. For more details, kindly inquire at the KU Funeral Home Service Desk or call 0736 928 380 or dial 020-359-9054.
Sasa ni bora zaidi. Mwanzo mpya, mambo mapya. Msimu mwingine wa Boresha Kilimo unakuletea teknolojia ibuka, kilimo mseto, uongezaji thamani. Teknolojia dijitali ya mauzo inawezesha ufikiaji wa masoko. Soko moko yako, mahangaiko yako ya kufikia masoko yamefika kikomo, manake tunao Mkulima Yangu.
What Mkulima Yangu does is it connects farmers with the market.
Hii ni Boresha Kilimo kwa ushirikiano na Mkulima Yangu. Hatafutaye hachoki na kichoka kesha pata. Kwa makala maalum ya kilimo, ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 6:30 kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Boresha Kilimo.
Wanangojea siku hiyo yenye furaha ajabu. Machungu yote yatakwisha, mambo yote yatakuwa ni mapya. Tukutane paradiso, tukutane enzini mbinguni, baada ya dhiki za hapa ulimwenguni tukutane.
Safina inang'oa nanga sasa hivi. Hivi sasa ni saa 2 Ijumaa usiku badala ya saa 3 kamili juu ya alama, due to public demand. Ungana nami Albanas Mwania, nahodha wa Safina Show, nikutoe ng'ambo ya pili hadi ufuoni. Safina Show, sauti ya matumaini.
Twatamani kufika pale, mji mzuri ajabu wapendeza, hakuna mfano wa mazuri yajayo, jitahidi ufike mbinguni juu. Siku yaja tutasahau yale yote yanayotuhuzunisha, tumeahidiwa na Mungu.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on KUTV Primetime News. Now, residents of Kirie location in Mbeere North Sub-County in Embu County have benefited from a free medical camp organized by the area Member of Parliament, Honorable Muriuki Njigagwa. The camp was a reprieve to patients at a time when health workers were halted in public health facilities due to the strike.
Hundreds of patients of Mbeere North Sub-County in Embu County have benefited from free medical camp organized by the area Member of Parliament, Honorable Muriuki Njigagwa. Patients were examined and treated for various diseases such as cancer, arthritis, diabetes, hypertension, and eye problems by various specialists. This comes after health workers went on strike a week ago over various issues including delay in payment of salaries, non-remittance of statutory deductions to relevant institutions, and shortage of drugs, among others.
We know that doctors within our county have gone on strike, and I heard the plea, nilisikia kilio cha watu wa Kirie, wanasema madaktari wamegoma, hawajaona madaktari hapa wa county kwa siku mingi, na pia nikanongonoza na watu wa Kirie wakaniambia kuna magonjwa mbalimbali ama kadha wa kadha.
Mr. Muriuki said he organized the camp to respond to the cries of the affected people, pointing out that the situation was bad to an extent of several newborns missing out on receiving their first dose of BCG vaccine.
Tumeshukuru sana kwa sababu hii huduma ya leo tumepata huduma nzuri sana sana kwa wazee wetu, mama wazee na baba wetu wazee kabisa. Unajua sasa wenga tunaendea huduma mbali sana huko kama Chicago, Jellyfish, Esiara ama Embu.
Beneficiaries have highlighted the poor healthcare services provision in the area, requesting that such camps be held regularly. Joyce Masharia, KUTV.
The increased cases of elephants terrorizing villagers in Ganze sub-county in Kilifi County have left residents living in fear and their day-to-day activities affected. Residents and leaders have called on the Kenya Wildlife Service to move in fast and relocate the elephants.
Residents of Ganze sub-county in Kilifi County are living in fear following the increased cases of elephants terrorizing villages. The elephants are reported to have affected day-to-day activities, learning being one of the activities which continue to suffer immensely.
Tarajia kuanzia wiki ijayo utakuwa na mikutano mikubwa ambayo utakuwa na maafisa wanaohusika na masuala ya ulinzi wa wanyama, idara ya utawala na ofisi yangu na pia na wananchi tu tuongele tukubaliane, kwa sababu juzi tulituma ndege ambayo ilikuwa inakuja kufanya survey na tukagundua kwamba ndovu wako upande huu, kuna watu wako kule ndani, wengine wanachoma makaa, hata wamejenga vibanda kule. Sasa wakifukuzwa hawa ndovu kwa nguvu sahihi, wanaweza enda kukutana wale watu waowe.
According to Ganze Member of Parliament Teddy Mwambire, the situation is getting out of hand, making it difficult for parents and the general public to cater for their families.
Tulifanya mkutano na machiefs. Nikasema kwamba kutoka hiyo siku keshowe watu maaskari wa KWS wanakuja kufukuza ndovu. Lakini makosa yenu ni kwamba mnawaja vijana wale wanaenda kukata makaa ama kuchoma makaa msituni, baada wako msituni mpaka saa 12 mpaka hata saa 2 usiku.
Watoto hawezi kurauka kwenda shuleni the time inayotakana. Lazima waongeze masaa kidogo, kwa sababu mara nyingi jua likitoka huyu ndovu ndio wanataka kwenda kwa pori. Sasa mara nyingi watoto wanachelewa. Just to mention but a few schools kama Milore Primary School, watoto mara nyingi wanatatisika na ndovu asubuhi na jioni.
And although human wildlife conflicts has been a major problem in the areas nearing wildlife conservation areas, Ganze residents are calling upon Kenya Wildlife Services to take charge. Obonyo Eliud, KUTV.
Now, efforts are underway to better integrate refugees in Kenya ahead of the planned closure of large camps. One project backed by the International Rescue Committee provides refugees with microloans to start small businesses.
It's midday in Nairobi, Kenya, a busy time for Enoch Gatangi, who attends to customers at his grocery shop in the Kayole neighborhoods. The Congolese refugee started his business with a loan from Rangers Family Group, an urban savings and loan association to which he belongs.
Niko na customer wengi sana wa Kenya.
I have so many customers, both Kenyans and Congolese, but most of my customers are Kenyans.
Gatangi's Rangers Family Group is one of 20 such groups that the International Rescue Committee, humanitarian aid organization, supports in different poor neighborhoods within Nairobi. The groups are part of a program called Refugees in East Africa, boosting urban innovations for livelihoods development, or Rebuild, a 5-year project to empower 20,000 urban refugee businesses in Nairobi and the Ugandan capital, Kampala.
The fact that refugees themselves have faced challenges in terms of accessing financial products from the formal financial institutions, the project had to divine innovative ways on how they can get access to finance services and also boost their economic livelihood initiative.
Under the program, refugees and locals form groups of 15 to 30 members. The members then contribute shares which are pooled in a mobile money app account that members can borrow from to run businesses. Members say the project has improved their economic well-being.
Before, we could not access funds to invest. But since we came together and pooled our resources, if a member wants to borrow 10,000 Kenyan shillings, they'll get it. If another wants 5,000, they'll get it. So our lives have improved since we came together as a group.
Out of the 500,000 refugees in Kenya, approximately 80,000 are based in urban areas. Their participation in the national economy hinges on integration.
When we focus on economic empowerment, we are giving the vulnerable or the voiceless opportunity to also have a feel and contribution in the national cake.
The Kenyan government said the refugee camps will close next month, and all eyes are on the authorities to see what steps they will take. Integrated refugees like Gatangi hope that if the camps must close, those who reside in them will be ready and able to live in the Kenyan communities.
Now take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Now, Malkia Strikers and KCB megastar Sharon Chepchumba has been named the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya, SJAC, and LG Sports Personality of the Month. This comes after an exemplary performance she commanded in the Africa Women Volleyball Championship in Indonesia last month. Chelsea chairman Bruce Buck has announced his intention to leave office after 19 years in the job, and his retirement becomes effective at the end of the month, a moment when Todd Bowley led a consortium takeover over the Premier League club in May. Chelsea FC, previously owned by Roman Abramovich, Buck will continue to be involved in the club as a senior advisor. Right, and that's all we had for you tonight on KUTV Primetime News. Many thanks indeed for your valued company throughout the bulletin. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Sharon Mamboy. My name is Omondi Otieno. Just to leave you with a word of wisdom. Not all success is due to hard work, and not all poverty is due to laziness. Keep this in mind when judging people, including yourself. Shall be meeting tomorrow. Have a great night.